Hi, I'm Karlee, and if you're new to my channel, welcome. This channel, I give tips about healing trauma, anxiety, depression, grief, and in times like this, with what happened on September 10th to Charlie Kirk, I have a newfound strength to say more of the things that have been on my mind and I've been wanting to say for a few months. You can even hear it in my voice sounds a bit raspy and emotional as we've been going through a whirlwind of emotions the last 2 days. And I want to start off by sharing a little story of the morning of September 10th before Charlie Kirk was taken from this physical reality. You may see on my necklace here a little cross. I have had this little cross from my Nana, my grandmother, for 20 years when she passed away. And I've had it in my jewelry box because it never had a big enough clasp to fit on a chain. And the morning of September 10th, I finally went to the jeweler. I'd been wanting to go for years, months, and I got a clasp that it could fit on. And the necklace I was wearing at the time is this heart I had made for myself. I'm not even a big jewelry person, but about 15 years ago, I had this heart necklace made. I designed it myself. I said, this is what I want, as I was developing my self-love, which I really started to understand what loving oneself, knowing thyself is. I've been on a spiritual path my whole life, and in my 30s and 40s, I have really been stepping into this meaning of self-love. Not just I love myself, but this unity with the divine, with God. That is true love. And so September 10th around, in the morning, I don't even remember exactly what time, I put this cross on by the heart. And there are no more coincidences in life. There's only synchronicities. There's only knowing we are not alone. And I'm sure many of us have been pendulating or stuck in grief. I can just only speak for myself. I've been pendulating the last few days between overwhelming grief and tears and then this faith and love and trust in knowing that everything does show light through all the darkness. And that's, I think, normal with tragedy and trauma and grief and even compassion. I'm sure many of you have been thinking a lot about Charlie Kirk's family. I wake up every morning, that's the first thing on my mind where I send energy to is to his wife and kids, and how does she get through each day, waking up, having to take care of a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old and process her own emotions, and just how we can all come together, and that God and Christ, exactly what happened to Christ, happened to Charlie Kirk, where somebody is speaking up for love of God and the divine, and evil comes in. And how do we not let that evil take us under, but to transform more to the light? And that's really what this is about. And I just wanted to share some thoughts that could help people get through this time. And one thing I like to think is the battle between light and dark has been going on since the beginning of time. That always makes me feel better, in the sense that it will curb the overwhelm and the grief and the pain. And a lot of people with trauma will say, I'm such an empath. And that's very normal. I shouldn't even say with trauma, just people say, oh, I'm so empathetic, right? I feel so much what's going on in the world. And what I've learned from all my studies in healing and training is, as we are healing our own stuff, we are more able to be a vessel to hold pain for others. So as you'll even see in my videos, and even today, I'll feel this overwhelming pain and grief, and then I can quickly self-regulate. And that's really from doing my own work. And that's really what I want this video to be about today, is all evil, all pain, all of these incomprehensible things that happen really lies at the root of healing our own issues, our own traumas. And I have a lot to say, so I'll break it down in a few points about, death, tragedy, even the trans community. And by the end of this video, hopefully you will have a better sense of where people are coming from and what you can do to help serve humanity and your own journey of staying regulated and holding a place for all from a peaceful, Christ-like, loving state. Just like we know, a friend of mine posted a beautiful photo. I'll put it up, where Christ is hugging Charlie Kirk, and that just gives me so much peace and love to be able to transform this physical reality and go to a higher dimension where we know, not everybody knows this, or we may not intellectually know this, but in our hearts and our souls, we know there's more than just the physical. So when we're stuck here in this material reality, everything feels so much bigger and so dramatic. And when we learn to go within more, into our heart, into our spirit, into our soul, and get into a different part of our brain, and this is through meditation and prayer and silence, be still and know that I am God. How many of us really sit with that? How many of us really self-reflect for hours, for minutes, in that state of going within and listening and asking, where can I be better? What am I learning? How can I hold more compassion? How can I forgive? And allow ourselves to feel all our emotions, from anger to grief to love to joy. And that's really what I like to teach on this channel, is how we can heal our own trauma so that we are able to sit in a meditative prayer, divine-like state longer, because that is really where the healing comes from. It's not from the external world. It's not from anyone or any circumstance on the outside, but it is from the internal world. And even the more I'm talking right now, and the more I connect to my heart and soul and God and Christ and the great ones, I feel my energy lift up. And that is where Charlie Kirk is. He's not hurting. He's in such a high vibration. He's helping us now from a different level. We're the ones suffering because of the trauma we witnessed, or the family members that he has left behind that have to now go on without him. All of that is incredibly painful. And the first thought I thought was, God, please help his wife and his kids. Feel him and go forward. See, I can feel the pain like so many of you. Go forward knowing her life has so much more meaning, and that she will carry on his message and her message to an even greater level than she may know possible right now. And let that be an inspiration for all of us. Sorry, my voice is so raspy. I'm not sorry, just whoa. So many emotions, right, the last few days. And you know what immediately happened to me that morning of September 10th? There have been things I have wanted to say in life. So to the point I was just making about Erica Kirk, is God, whatever your beliefs are, maybe it's not God, maybe it's nature, maybe it's the universe, you're spiritual. I was raised spiritual and with the word God, so I don't get hung up on that. I get hung up on striving for oneness within yourself. That's all that matters. Call it whatever you want. The point is, get past your thoughts, past your feelings, overcome yourself, get into your soul, get into your heart, because that is where the truth lives. And you can only do that through meditation. And so the point I want to make, and what I've been feeling and praying for Charlie Kirk's family, is that that spirit and that strength will help their grief and then even shine their light brighter. And I know it will, because it came to me, I felt it, and it happened to me. And hopefully maybe it's happening to you, or let it with this video. So for me, what it immediately did is, there's been things I have spoken up for in my life with my family members, and not my immediate family, not my husband and kids, I do that fine, but with my parents and siblings, the family I came into. And in this life, learning to find our voice and speak up for truth is something that Charlie Kirk did so beautifully. And the second he transitioned, this wave of strength came over me, and the fear or nervousness I've ever had in life about speaking up or doing anything vanished. I don't even know what happened to my nervous system, but I want to give you that gift through this video, through the energy of Charlie Kirk and Christ and God and the divine, or whatever your masters and religious beliefs are. Feel the power of your unity and oneness and envelop your heart and your soul to live fearlessly. Now, it doesn't have to happen overnight. I've been working on this for a long time, building that courage and strength. And don't let it just be in your mind, it has to be in your body. And what I did is I actually called my parents yesterday and I said, come over. And I said things to them that I've never been able to say because I was too scared or I didn't know how to say it. And I grew up with addiction and codependence and a lot of denial and a lot of spirituality. So it was very confusing. And when I have spoken up to my family, they haven't wanted to hear it, or there's been projection, manipulation, talking behind my back. I'm the judgmental one. Very common in this psychology trauma world when there's one family member that starts to really want to honor the truth and others that just want to forgive and move on and leave things as they are. And there's a place for everything. However, we can't move forward unless truth is really, really honored. Nobody can change. And so I know that there's certain things my parents have really wanted to change. And they're turning 84. And I keep saying to myself, when they pass, have I said everything I needed to? Did I do all that I could? Not to change them, but for me, for God. And yes, for them. But I've already learned you can't change anyone else. That's it. That's the first lesson. And that's so freeing. And then it's don't be afraid to have your voice from love and kindness, not anger and rage, right? So yesterday I was able to speak my truth to my parents about some very big topics. It was like my own intervention without the support of anybody else. And I shouldn't say that because I did have the support. I had the soul and spirit of Charlie Kirk. I had Christ. I had Yogananda. I had all the great ones around me. I felt it. And I guided my parents so beautifully. I would love to share in another video all that was said because it just started working through me. And I got to confront. It got a little funny for a moment. There was some defensiveness and projecting. And then some angelic force came in. I stayed calm because I changed. You have to change first before you do anything. And then the whole energy in the room shifted and my mom and dad were more receptive. I guided them through this beautiful exercise of connecting with themselves. And they honored the truth. They admitted their problems and dysfunction. They heard me, received me. And my goal was, if we honor truth, nobody wants to hear, oh, I'm perfect. I have the perfect relationship and the perfect family. Look at what we do. That's all ego. And I told them people like it when you're vulnerable and real and you say your mistakes and all your wrongdoings because that makes you human and that is the only way you can heal. God does not, the divine can't give us miracles until we first admit our wrongs. Then the miracles and the healing can come. So I said, if you really want these things, you've got to face yourself and admit the truth. And I think a lot of people get very scared to do that because of some programming that they're in trouble or they're wrong. So it's very important. What I did is I reminded them that you're safe. I love you. I forgive you. There's no judgment here. I just want truth. Without truth, nobody can move forward. And I felt this completion yesterday because I honored my voice and I was of service. And let defining moments like September 10th give you that strength when you're ready to confront whatever you need to. And it doesn't even have to be with somebody in the physical. I'm fortunate because my parents do live close by. They are doing the work and they are ready to hear. But there are plenty of family members and people that don't want to hear it. And I've juggled that and balanced that for the last 15 years. When do I say something? When do I not? Do I say any more? Do I not? Don't worry. If you have any questions, please leave comments and I can help guide you on that in this channel. Because there is a divine timing for everything. And that's why meditation, prayer practice is so important because the more you get out of your head and into your heart and listen, and this takes will, this takes practice, just like exercise, maybe even stronger than exercise. It's easy just to go out for a walk or a bike ride or a treadmill. I shouldn't say easy. Some people really need willpower. But it actually, I think one of the hardest things for humans to do is sit still, go within and listen and wait. And I'd love to motivate you to do that more and give you tips on how you can lengthen that time in your meditative state. You can write things down. You can talk to the divine from the language of your own heart. You can talk to the soul and spirit of great ones that have gone before. And then you don't just have to sit there with a blank mind. That's not meditation. You're sitting there with your focus on the divine. and your focus on other things that can help the mind from wandering, your gratitude for your love for yourself, for Charlie Kirk's life, for feeling compassion for others, for our country and freedom, and even gratitude that big events like this throughout history help bring people together at the end of the day, no matter how tragic and dramatic, that more and more people wake up to what evil really is and how we can overcome our political views, liberal or Republican, and become more one, that we all want the same thing: a greater country, greater freedom, greater love for ourselves is where it all starts. And why not have the focus be something greater than ourselves? And evil doesn't like that. The dark doesn't like that. And you don't have to be afraid of the dark or evil. I mean, Christ wasn't, Charlie Kirk wasn't. And they gave their lives for us to remember our strength. And never let a day go by when you get stuck in your pain body or your trauma. Just say to yourself, there is a way. There is a way for me to heal. There are tools out there. Please guide me to the right tools that I need in each moment. And that's exactly what happened to me and why I wrote the book, Can You Please Talk to My Trauma? And even made an online program, which is up for donation, is because I was so stuck and lost for over, 10 years, miserable, the darkest thoughts. I needed answers, and I knew that I would not kill myself. And I knew I would not live the way I was living. And that's when God showed up with the answers, and it saved my life. So just remember, let your mantra be today, there's always a way. There's always a reason that we can come together and overcome the dark and the grief. And if you're like me, you probably have noticed in the last 48 hours, this pendulation between grief and hope. Grief and hope. And in the middle is the divine, is the highest form of love we can attain. And do your best. Take a break from the news and go back to your quiet space. And there, in your third eye, you can connect with anyone that has gone before us. Talk to Charlie Kirk right now. Bring in his soul. Look for him. Talk to Christ. Talk to God. Talk to whoever your deity is. And remember, you're not alone. And the only way you will know that is by raising your level of love. You cannot overcome evil and hatred with hatred. You can only overcome it with love. In my career, I have worked with all kinds of people. And every time I work with somebody, whether or not I believe what they believe, I've worked with trans, I've worked with you name it, I see a divine soul that is trying to get back to love. Now, this doesn't mean that certain behaviors are acceptable. That's where we have to have our boundaries. There's a lot of things people do that are unacceptable. But also what is unacceptable is not remembering we're all children of God. And forgive them for they know not what they do is the only way to stop the evil and the darkness. And be an example of that light. Let yourself feel the anger. Let yourself feel the strength of, oh my gosh, yeah, forgive them for they know not what they do. But good riddance and shame on them, and that is not okay. Because even Christ and Yogananda had their boundaries, kind and firm. Call people on their stuff. And that's the balance of this life. So many people with trauma feel so wronged, and then they don't have their voice. And then they keep showing up and being kind to their abusers or their manipulators or their parents. Don't do that. Have your voice. And if people don't want to hear it, love them more from a distance, because you can't jeopardize your own peace of mind for abuse. And abuse really is not being honored. When you go to say something like, hey, I'm not okay with this, or so-and-so has these behaviors and I'm sticking up for truth. And if people don't want to hear it, protect yourself and say, well, I did all that I can do. And sticking up for truth and greatness and for others, just like anyone we've seen, like Charlie Kirk has done, reminds us that we can stick up for our truth. And if people don't want to hear it, we can still love them and send them love. But never, never keep showing up feeling disrespected. Even if that means you need to sit alone, I would rather you sit alone and love yourself than show up around people that don't hear you and respect you and then go home and feel worse. It's a hard one to get. it takes time and a hard one to break. But when you do that, you start drawing in more and more love and understanding. I talked to 2 childhood friends actually in the last 48 hours too, that I hadn't talked to in years, who have come back in, and we're on the same page of spreading this beautiful love and divinity. And miracles will start happening. It might take some time, but the more you transform yourself, they will come in. So please do not give up hope on yourself. Do not give up hope on America, and understand that things sometimes have to get a lot worse and chaotic before they get better. It's been happening through the beginning of time. Never forget World War II. Don't even forget the Armenian genocide. Don't forget Moses. Don't forget, did I already say Christ? I don't know. Just remember, there is no time when it comes to love and divine. We're living in a physical reality that feels time and space oriented, but in the quantum, we are all one right now. And there's so much more I can say on this, but for now, I like to keep my videos 20 minutes or less. I'll wrap this up, and I hope this helped for today. And please leave any comments of anything else you would like to hear about. And remember that the divine lives in you, and you can be a light to this world. And the more we keep getting out of our own way, we will transcend the physical and rise up. And hope is not lost. It's really just beginning. Every time we have a catastrophe, that soul came in to remind others, even though it's so hard to understand, that there is so much more out there, and that we have to strive to think even bigger and greater and more brave and more confident. And that's, anytime I see somebody have their voice and speak up, I'm in awe and I'm in gratitude for their ability to do that. So don't give up. See you in the next one.